Welcome back to the shop. It's kind of a crappy day today. It's a little cold out. Fall is definitely here, and unfortunately winter's not going to be far behind that, so I'm so not looking forward to that. But anyway, we're down in the shop again, and we're going to make a capstan quill handle for the Southbend drill press. Now this was an option from Southbend, and I do have a catalog that I got when I grabbed my drill, and it has a couple of different options in there. We'll take a quick peek at that. Thanks for all the good comments I got on that last video with the impressions. I really enjoyed some of the comments. So anyway, we're going to set up here on the bench here, and we'll take a look at some interesting attachments that they had for this drill. Alright, so this is just an old catalog that was with my drill when I bought it. And apparently there were two types of drills besides the bench mount and table mount. But there was the precision drill press, which is what I have, and there was an economy drill press, which I've never seen before. And basically just didn't have all the bells and whistles. You can see this catalog's kind of falling apart. This is the economy one. Didn't have a few of the options, didn't have the light, it didn't have the quick change, little quick release for the motor tension, and it had a smaller casting up front. I've never seen one of these, I've only seen the ones like I have, but we're kind of concerning ourselves with a few of the options here. And these are just mortising attachments, and this is the style of base that they gave that you could buy with it as a wooden table. And now the drill presses did come with different spindles in them, and they are interchangeable. There's a straight shank, which I've never seen before. There's the Morse tapered shank, which is what I have on the drill press. And there's the number 2 Morse taper, which I've also seen. The only problem with the number 2 Morse taper is that taper extends below the casting. So especially if you have a bench mount, you lose a decent amount of travel with it. And here's the multi-speed attachment up here that I have on mine. And what we're kind of concerned about here is this right here. And this is what we're going to be building. So basically it still uses the original handle that's there and the original set screw for the handle, which actually mine is missing, so we do have to make that up. And I'm pretty sure that's a 3/8 thread on there. And we'll probably make that little knob out of brass, or you can make it out of steel. Just be sure to put a brass shoe in the hole so you don't mark up this rod. And so basically it consists of a central hub with 2 fixed handles on it. So we're going to make a rod. I'm going to drill and thread this here and here, and then have a through hole right down the middle where we can slide the original handle through. Now I don't have any kind of black Delrin or anything. These handle knobs here are plastic, so I'll probably just end up making them out of aluminum or something. Plus they're kind of acorn shaped. I'll show you when we get to that part. The original handles are acorn shaped, so we might just make round ones for here and here. We'll see. And so we got to make this central collar, which just slips over the actual quill here, and I'm going to make it 3/4 of an inch wide by the diameter of that quill extension here, which is a little over 1.25 inches. So I'm going to have to bore that out. I'm going to use 2-inch 12L14 steel. And so we're going to do that, and these rods here, the rod that's there is 7/16. Now I don't have any 7/16 stock line around here. The closest size to it that I have is 1/2 inch. So I'm not going to worry about, knocking it down by a 32nd per side. It's gonna be a little bit bigger. I'm just going to use the 1/2 inch on it and call it a day. So if I had 7/16 steel, I definitely would use it, but I don't want to go out and order some, so we're just going to use the 1/2 inch I have, which I have plenty of. And that's kind of the way that we're going to make it. Now another little attachment here that's kind of cool is the one problem with these drill presses is, unlike a lot of the newer drill presses, it doesn't have a hand wheel to raise and lower the table. A lot of drill presses you'll see will have the hand wheel on the side with a rack and pinion type thing to move the actual drill press table up and down. The Southbends didn't have that. It's just a straight column, so you kind of have to wiggle it and shimmy it up and down. But what they did make was this little attachment, which basically has a feed rod that attaches to the bottom of the table, and that goes to a clamp that clamps around the pole, and is attached to a hand wheel in the worm gear. And this gives you 4 inches of travel, so you can loosen up the table here, crank the hand wheel, and you have 4 inches of movement up and down. And then if you want to go more than that, you just loosen these 2 collars, slide it up a little bit, and you have another 4 inches of travel. So that's kind of a neat little attachment, and it definitely is something that somebody can make in their home shop. So maybe eventually that will be a project. We shall see. So anyway, let's go set up on the lathe, and we'll get to making this collar here. Okay, so I already have my part faced and center drilled. Now we want this inside diameter to be at least 1 inch 285 thousandths. So I'm going to drill it as deep as I can, or as wide as I can, and then I'm going to bore out the rest. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch and then 11/16, and the largest drill bit I have, or that I can find, is a knockoff 15/16 Southbend Deming bit. So we'll actually see how good these knockoff bits drill. This is a good drill bit. That'll drill fine, but the other two, not so sure about. So I want the collar to be 3/4 of an inch long, so I'm gonna drill in 1 inch. So that way there, when we part off, we know that we have that bore all the way through. So let's get to that. So there's 1 inch. I just wanted to back up real quick because even though I do have a very nice Albrecht chuck, you kind of don't want to use these with reduced shank drills. You can and probably get away with it, but you do have a chance of over tightening these chucks with the reduced shank. It actually says from Albrecht, do not use the reduced shank drill bits in their chucks. So if I just have a regular Jacobs chuck, now this isn't one of those the super chucks. This is just a regular, decent USA made Jacobs chuck. So now the super chucks have ball bearings in it, and they clamp really tight. These ones not as much. But so if you're drilling really big holes or something that is going to have a lot of torque on there, what you do is tighten all 3 spots on the chuck. There are 3 holes to put your key in. Tighten all of them. That makes sure that you have a decent grip on the drill bit, and you'll have a lot less chance of spinning in that chuck. Like I said, this is a decent chuck. Nothing against these, just the super chucks are much nicer, and as a consequence are much more expensive. Plus, this is a knockoff Southbend Deming bit, so we'll see how this does. I mean, this is relatively soft steel, so it shouldn't be too bad, but we shall see. Alrighty, I slowed the lathe down, oil this thing up, and we'll see how it cuts. Took a little bit to get it started, but it's cutting okay now. You can see one flute is leading a little bit, but you know, it's cutting. Okay, didn't do too bad. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. Now I'm not really worried about hole accuracy or anything in this because we're just gonna end up boring this out. So even with that one flute leading a little bit, I'm not really concerned. We'll see how big it does over here. Distinct feeling that this one's not going to fare as well, but you know, could be wrong. Again, I'm tightening all three spots on that chuck. And for depth, I am using the numbers stamped on the quill. Alrighty, see how this thing does. Well, that wasn't too bad for, you know, knockoff $2 silver and Deming. Not even the silver and Deming bit. I won't even give it that much credit. Alright, so now let me just set up to bore this. Okay, so we're set up to bore this now. I gotta bring it up to 1 inch, 285 thousandths. We're at roughly 930 thousandths right now. So, and I do have my carriage indicator set up. So we'll probably take us about 100 at a time until we get close. So I'll take 200 and I'll measure it again and see if we're tracking right. There's going to be some spring in this tool, so you just have to be aware of that, especially if you're taking a bigger cut. So you should be able to hand 100 thousandths cut, no problem. Set them at 0. There's 100 thousandths. Set my feed. And we're going to go kind of slow with this. Like I said, I can take my time. I'm not in a rush. That definitely should be the last pass there. $285 on the money. Whatever little bit of clearance I have to take out of that, I'll do with a piece of emery cloth. So what I want to do is just break the inside edge and break this outside edge. Alrighty, so let's pull it back up and we'll get ready to pot this thing off. Okay, so I just did one slight truing cut on the outside just so everything's concentric, and I just polished everything. Now since I'm going with 1/2 inch instead of 7/16 on the rods, I'm potting it off a little bit longer, so we have a 900,000th pot here. Just a little laid down here, and we'll get to potting this bad boy off. Now whenever you pot off or whenever you face off on a smaller lathe, be sure to lock your carriage down. This is leaded stock, so I can go a little bit faster than I would normally on the feed in. But the leaded stock and stuff, you want to keep constant pressure on that tool. She is. This side here, I'll just re-chuck it and just give it a quick face. Okay, so we have everything all potted off, we're all polished up. I already drilled the clearance hole for the original rod, which is already in there. Now the way I did that is I just put some bluing on there. I have my caliper set to half the distance there. Just put one little scribe mark, switch it to the other side, do the same thing, that splits the difference. And then I put a center punch mark in there, and I went over on the drill press and using my drill press vise, I lined it up and drilled straight through, making sure that we were in the middle, which we were. And because it fits really good, my drill press vise has a nice little slot in the bottom that you can kind of sit this in and wiggle it around until you get it perfectly vertical. And that's the way we went. We got it pretty much dead nuts on center. I double checked it through the quill and we're fine on that. Now these two ends I have to drill and tap. Now even though we're using 1/2 inch rod, I'm going to tap these 3/8 16. That's what the ends of this rod are, but there's a reason why I'm doing that. I could probably do 7/16, but I'm going to do 3/8 in case I ever want to get some 7/16 and remake the rods. But basically what I want to do is I want to drill and I want to tap that, and I want to make the thread smaller than the bar, because I have to take an end mill and basically countersink it so that it fits, when you look at it on the side, it fits flat into this this radius here. If not, it's going to stick above. So we have to basically mill a little flat on there. So that's why I want to have a smaller thread than the actual rod that we're going to be using. And this actually works out perfect, because this bar through here and my little crappy V-block here end up being perfect. This is actually the perfect height for this V-block. So I can put this in a vise and I can clamp this. I can clamp this bar here, here and here. I can clamp this to the table and drill straight through, and we'll have a nice true straight hole. So I'm going to go set up and do that, and we're going to drill and tap these holes. I'll probably just show one because the other one's just going to be the opposite. Alright, I already center drilled this using the V-block, so what we're going to do is put it in my vise to be able to hold it. Kind of just line this up here, give it a quick little snug, and we're going to take our handle, put our handle through, and now we can pretty much get this handle level and know that we're on center. So a little bullet level. Okay, good right there. Drilling. Oil, and I have a temporary handle in here. Whoop. Through. And we're going to put our tap in place. And I'm not going to tap it with the drill press, but we're going to get started with the drill press. Okay. And there we go. Drilled there, drilled there. Now if you put any marks, I did put a little mark right here from tightening the vise way too tight. If you want, you can face that off. I'm not really worried about that. I'll put that on the inside. So now what I want to do is I want to make the pin to hold the quill in place, so that way there we can get how long that we need to make the two handles that screw into here. Okay, so I need to, this is a piece of 1-inch brass, I need to turn down a length of 1/2 inch to 3/8 diameter so I can thread it. I have my carriage dial indicator set up here, so we'll turn this down. Okay, my camera kind of crapped out on that pin, but we got it all set. And I have my 1/2 inch rod in there, and I figured out the length we needed. We need 4.5 inches in total length, but we need the end to be a 3/8 16 thread. So I got to cut this down to a diameter of 3/8 for a length of 1/4 inch. I know that thread isn't that much, but we're going to Loctite these things in, and it ain't going to go anywhere. So I'm just going to set up my carriage stop here. Okay. This is just a boring bar holder, but it's really big, so I like using it with the dies. And the only reason why we're using the die, I'm not single pointing this, is because it's just such a short thread here. And it's nothing too critical, so. Okay. Lock this up. That pretty much ensures that we start everything all nice and straight. Go down as far as that can go. Now a little relief so that it can go in. We want 4.5 inches. Just enough on this thing to part it off. Go in just a hair. Right about there. Okay. Right there. Okay, so we have everything done except for the knobs. Now, I did do another quick little facing cut and just get that little squish mark from the vise off of there. I should have put some aluminum in there as a spacer, but you know what, I didn't. Lesson learned. And if you use a lot of Dykem, don't buy the Dykem remover. It's a waste of money. Just steal your wife's nail polish remover, and that'll get it off. And I found a cut. Son of a... that burns. And there it is. Okay, now that I stopped the burning in my hand, this is the through hole, and these are the threaded holes. Now, this is the 1/2 inch rods with the 3/8 thread on the end. The reason why I chose 3/8 is because if the original rods are 7/16, so if I ever come across some 7/16 stock and wanted to remake these, I still have enough to cut down the 7/16 stock to a 3/8 thread. So these thread in here. And in here. Now, the next video, which I'll probably get to next weekend, is going to encompass two things. We'll make the knobs, and what we also need to do is, as you can see here, see this gap here? So I need to basically countersink this rod into here, which is part of the reason why I also made those threads only a 1/4 inch long, is because I still have enough room to be able to make a nice flat spot so that these fit in nice. Now, does it need to do that? No, it's more of an aesthetic thing, but you know, I'll probably set this up in the 4-jaw. In this orientation, we can indicate off of this, and we can use the tailstock in the lathe to just countersink that real quick. The reason why I would rather do it that way rather than try and do this in the drill press is because that vise has to be super rigid in the drill press to get that end mill to keep from wandering off or pushing the vise away, and that's really not a rigid drill press vise, so I don't want to do it that way. So I could probably just set this up, like I said, like this in the 4-jaw, have one jaw here, and then clamp across, and then be able to indicate this rod to that hole. More than likely, that's the way we'll end up doing it. So let's go see how it actually fits on the drill press. Okay, so here's the quill. Now there is a, on the inside here, there's a spring that pushes on a tiny little ball bearing that puts tension on the quill handle, so it's not just flopping around over there when you loosen up this screw. I just took that out because it's already popped out when rolling across the floor and I almost lost it. So what we need to do first is put the handle we made on, and we got a nice sliding fit in here, but we have no wiggle in it. It's a nice tight fit, but enough to slide on. And put the original handle through. Now that's the only thing that holds this on, is the original handle, and that's the way it, the Southbend one, the actual Southbend version of this was. So it may or may not want to add a set screw in this. I'm not quite sure, but you can still see we still have movement of the center quill handle, and here's the screw we made to lock it down. Made it out of brass so we're not dinging up that shaft, and there it is. Well, it's not quite centered, that's almost centered there. And that's pretty much it. You can see, even though it's set at a little bit of an angle, this is at an angle too. We're 90 degrees to each corner here. And there's your hand wheels. It didn't come out too bad. Still got a little bit of work to do on it, but that'll be on the next video. So we're pretty much done with this video here. Next week, what I want to do is I want to make these hand wheels, or knobs rather, and I want to sink these rods in. Now, I don't want to make them out of aluminum. You see there's some sort of black plastic bakelite or something with a brass threaded insert in there. And I do have an MSC local to me a couple of towns over in Woburn, so I'm probably going to stop by there sometime next week and see if I can get just a piece of Delrin to make these up. I know I already looked on their website. It's pretty cheap. It's like $7 for a foot-long piece, and I don't need that much. So we'll probably be able to make some sort of form cutter for this little radius rib in the middle, and we'll do this radius by making a bunch of different diameters and then smoothing them out. This more or less acorn tapered shape may be a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult, but we'll figure something out. If anybody has a super easy way to do it, obviously let me know. So that's it for this video. I gotta go put the towels in the washing machine, otherwise my wife is gonna kill me. And we'll see you on the next one. See, that's the one bad thing about having a washer and dryer in your shop.